This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump is threatening to obliterate vital Iranian infrastructure unless an agreement's reached soon. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
While some airports still have those long TSA lines, others like Houston and Atlanta are returning to normal Monday. I'm Julie Walker.
Police investigating after a student shoots a teacher in Texas. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, stocks opened this morning after a mixed day yesterday while oil prices keep going up. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Spain has closed its airspace to U.S. planes involved in the Iran war. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Dean Roy is running for governor of Vermont. He's 14.
I will fight to expand affordable housing.
I'm Donna Warder.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump is putting the current Iranian leadership on notice, threatening to target and, in his words, obliterate Iran's civilian infrastructure, including electric and water desalination plants, unless an agreement is reached soon to end the war, an agreement that Iran's government called unrealistic. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the president's threats come as more troops are heading to the region for a possible ground invasion, and news that Iran destroyed an AWACS radar jet and air tanker at a Saudi Arabia airbase.
Then we did the attack with the B-2 bombers, and we stopped them from having nuclear. And now we had to blow them up again. And we will probably... So I think we've had regime change. I mean, we can't do much better than that.
President Trump is threatening to obliterate vital Iranian infrastructure unless an agreement's reached soon to end the war.
As a result, President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. If the Iranians reject this golden opportunity, the greatest military in the history of the world continues to stand by to provide President Trump with every option available to ensure this regime continues to pay a grave price.
If there's no deal shortly, the president says the U.S. will target Iran's energy resources and potentially plants that supply drinking water.
Their best move is to make a deal.
Spokeswoman Caroline Levitt.
The president has made it quite clear to the Iranian regime at this moment in time, as evidenced by the statement that you just read, that their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination, and the president is not afraid to use them.
Its foreign ministry spokesman says Iran has received a 15-point U.S. proposal for stopping the war, but says it's full of excessive, unrealistic, and irrational demands. He denies any direct talks with the U.S., while President Trump tells the New York Post his envoys are negotiating with Iran's parliament speaker. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
There were only 10 minutes or less waits to get through TSA checkpoints at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport Monday, down from more than 4 hours just days before. And other airports also said their lines were diminished. Correspondent Julie Walker reports airport waits are easing as the TSA says its officers got paid. However, the blame game continues between Democrats and Republicans over funding, and it appears those TSA agents didn't receive all their back pay.
Republicans funded the Department of Homeland Security piecemeal. It's not the way to fund the department.
This could have been accomplished weeks ago if Republicans hadn't stood in the way.
The Democrats created this mess. They are the reason for long lines at airports and tens of thousands of employees going without pay. Once again, President Trump is cleaning up their mess because he cares more about the American people than destructive, petty, partisan politics.
While some airports still have those long TSA lines that we saw last week practically stretch out the door, others like Houston and Atlanta are returning to normal Monday as TSA officers like Johnny Jones at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport say they finally got paid. He's also the secretary-treasurer of his local TSA union.
Things are getting back to normal. They're not fully back, but some of the lines are gone in Houston, but some of the airports, it's going to take some time.
But he says those checks are not what members were expecting.
People received about 75% of their back pay. And, but they're still recovering. People's finances are devastated.
The partial DHS shutdown began February 14th. About 500 TSA workers quit and many called out sick. Then Friday, President Trump signed an executive order for payments to go out while Congress continues fighting over a DHS funding bill.
Vacation is canceled, just like they canceled the TSA officers' vacation whenever they had to go to work without being paid. Vacation is canceled. Get your butt up, get on the plane, and get back to work. And then you need to file, not only when you do the continuing resolution, you need to give everybody in DHS $10,000 now, because a lot of people still not getting paid. And take care and compensate these people that work for the American people.
I'm Julie Walker.
Student shoots teacher, then himself. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues now for the national forecast on this last Tuesday of the month.
After a quiet Monday, we are looking at a much more active day with a storm and associated cold front shifting through the plains. This feature will produce widespread showers and thunderstorms from as far south as western Texas, northward to Wisconsin and Michigan. And a few of the storms will be heavy and gusty, producing damaging winds, hail, flooding downpours, and even a tornado. And the best chance for the heaviest storms will develop from northern Indiana into southern Michigan, and then eastward to northern Ohio. And then this will shift into northwestern Pennsylvania and southwest New York late in the day and at night. Outside of these storms, there'll be a steadier rain through northern New York into New England, and it may be cold enough for northern Maine to see a little bit of snow, with highs in these areas in the 30s and 40s. Those 30s and 40s will also extend westward along the Canada border through northern Michigan and continuing into Minnesota, the Dakotas, and much of Montana. And ahead of this front, it's going to be quite warm, with highs in the 70s, 80s, and 90s through the southern plains into the southern Great Lakes and continuing into the northeast. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop across the southeast from Louisiana to Georgia and then southward to Florida. And a few of the storms could produce heavier rain, though much of the region will be dry much of the day. Another system is shifting through the western U.S., providing some relief to the recent heat wave. And this will cause widespread showers and a few thunderstorms through California into Oregon, eastward to Idaho, Utah, as well as Wyoming and Colorado. And the showers will continue to expand to the region at night. That's the weather across America. It'll be a warm and humid day in Meridian, Mississippi, with some sun and an afternoon thundershower, high up to 82. And then a colder day in Glasgow, Montana, despite sunshine, with a high of 41. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Police in Texas are investigating a motive after a 15-year-old student shot a teacher before killing himself on Monday. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The teacher was taken to a nearby hospital and no one else was hurt. That according to the Comal County, Texas Sheriff's Office outside San Antonio. The shooting happened at Hill Country College Preparatory High School in Valverde. It's a campus with about 250 students, and the police response was massive. A lockdown was ordered around 8:30 in the morning. Authorities in Comal County were asked about potential warning signs.
As far as the warning signs, I couldn't answer that at the present, because it's something that we're talking to. I'm sure we're going to be talking to other students. We'll be talking to the faculty. We'll be talking to the family.
Investigators say the student shot the teacher before turning the gun on himself. Police now looking into the relationship between the student and teacher and how the shooter got the gun used in the shooting. I'm Clayton Neville.
The FBI says the man who crashed his pickup truck into a Michigan synagogue on March 12th was inspired by a U.S.-designated terrorist group and appeared to have waited 2 hours in the parking lot before he attacked. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Jennifer Runyon, head of the FBI in Detroit, says that Ayman Ghazali was inspired by Iranian-backed Hezbollah, and that Ghazali made videos before crashing his pickup truck into Temple, Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan earlier this month, with one saying,
"God willing, I will kill as many of them as I possibly can." He sends a quick 3-second video with the same screenshot shortly after. and types the message, a special operation.
Ghazali also called his ex-wife, who then called police in Dearborn to warn he was suicidal after losing family members in a military strike in Lebanon. Ghazali exchanged gunfire with a security guard at the synagogue before fatally shooting himself during the March 12th attack. No one among the 150 children and staff was injured. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
When we return on America in the Morning, consumer price increases as fuel prices soar after these messages. America in the Morning continues. Tomorrow, we'll turn the calendar for a new day of trading. Let's get caught up to date on market activity with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed day for stocks yesterday and soaring oil prices again. The U.S. war on Iran has entered its fifth week. The Strait of Hormuz still too dangerous for tankers to move through, as ships could be attacked by drones or missiles. Today is the last trading day of March. The Dow and the S&P 500 index each on pace for their worst month since September of 2022. And U.S. crude oil closed over $100 a barrel yesterday. That was the first time it closed that high since 2022. And here go prices at the pump.
Gas prices could accelerate within the next 24 hours. You maybe want to go fill up my car.
Yeah, we're at $3.99. You don't have to be Nostradamus to predict that one. It's pretty much almost a layup.
Opus oil analyst Denton Sinkangwana with CNBC's Leslie Picker. And Denton says, just look at diesel, because that's going to hit all of us.
You have diesel prices in the United States well over the $5 a gallon level, $2 above where they were at this time last year. That's going to have an economic impact where shippers are going to be charging diesel fuel surcharges to customers. And at the end of the day, that's going to be passed on to the end user, which is you and I, when we're buying stuff at the stores.
What pushed oil up yesterday? Well, here's CNBC's Brian Sullivan.
President Trump now actively threatening Iranian oil. He wrote in part, quote, "We will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island," end quote.
Oil isn't the only thing not moving through the Strait of Hormuz because of the U.S. war on Iran. Aluminum and other commodities, too. In fact, if you like a nice cold Coors from a can, that company is one of many already talking about higher aluminum prices.
Aluminum prices are rising after Iran targeted the two largest single-site smelters in the Middle East. Emirates Global Aluminum saying that its site in Abu Dhabi sustained, quote, significant damage, with aluminum Bahrain also hit. Together, the facilities produce about 4% of global supply, according to J.P. Morgan. Last year, about 21% of U.S. primary aluminum imports came from the region. That's according to S&P Global.
CNBC's Pippa Stevens. And more price increases coming for you because of the war. JetBlue Airways now raising checked bag fees by at least $4 per bag as fuel prices soar. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Nike. We get the latest on job opportunities and labor turnover. We're going to get new home price numbers from S&P Case-Shiller, and new data on consumer confidence will be out.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Europeans snub the U.S.-led war with Iran after these messages. Pessimism in Europe over the U.S.-led war with Iran. Drivers in nations including Ireland, Germany, Greece, and Italy are all paying on average over $8 per gallon for gas. The UK said no British troops will be part of any ground invasion. Others, like Spain, announced that its airspace cannot be used by U.S. planes involved in the Iran war. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Defense Minister Margarita Robles says Spain has closed its airspace to US planes involved in the Iran war. Madrid had already said the US could not use jointly operated military bases in the country for operations related to the conflict. Robles told reporters on Monday this was made perfectly clear to the American military and forces from the very beginning. Therefore, neither the bases are authorized, nor, of course, is the use of Spanish airspace authorized for any actions related to the war in Iran. Spain's government, under Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, has been Europe's most critical voice of US and Israeli military actions in the Middle East. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
He's running for governor in Vermont, but campaigning on school nights may be an issue. Correspondent Donna Warder reports on high school freshman Dean Roy, hoping to make history and who clearly brings youth to the race.
Dean Roy is running for governor of Vermont. He's 14.
I kind of just looked up what the age limit was to run for governor. I figured out that there are none. Our Constitution is really, really old.
The freshman at Stowe High School says he became interested in politics following a field trip to the state capitol. Then, while in the 8th grade, he worked at the Capitol as a page.
As your governor, I will fight to expand affordable housing.
Roy, who created his own Freedom and Unity Party, will be the first candidate for governor under the age of 18 to appear on the state's general election ballot.
I don't expect necessarily to win. What I do expect is to start the movement and to get more young people to come in behind me and say, yeah, we also want to make change.
I'm Donna Warder.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, March 31st, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Coming up this half hour.
A Kuwaiti oil tanker was attacked and exploded off the coast of Dubai as Kuwait points the finger at Iran. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
One of the few states without an income tax will get one, but not without a fight or two. I'm Rich Johnson.
The U.S. High Court to take up birthright citizenship. I'm Clayton Neville.
Jerome Powell says the Fed's closely watching inflation as energy prices spike. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Apple's Siri about to get an AI upgrade. I'm the new old tech guy, Chuck Palm.
Airport name change in the Sunshine State. And Robert Workman has the day in sports. Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues with the national forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy. Matt?
There is a storm system shifting through the western U.S., and that's going to provide some relief from the recent heat wave. This is going to cause widespread showers and a few thunderstorms through California into Oregon and then eastward to Idaho and Utah, as well as Wyoming into Colorado. Showers will continue to expand through the region tonight into Washington and northern Idaho, with more coverage into Wyoming and Colorado, even some snow in the Rockies. While the risk for showers will cover a large area, rainfall will not be enough to provide relief for the drought in the Great Basin area. We have another storm and associated cold front shifting through the Great Lakes into the Plain States. This will produce some widespread showers and thunderstorms as far south as western Texas, northward to Wisconsin and Michigan. A few of the storms will be heavy and gusty, producing damaging winds, hail, flooding downpours, and even a tornado. The best chance for the heavier storms will be in northern Indiana into southern Michigan and then continuing eastward to northern Ohio. And then this will shift into northern Pennsylvania and southwest New York late in the day and at night. And outside of the storms, there will be a steadier rain through northern New York into New England, and it may be cold enough for some snow in northern Maine, with highs holding in the 30s and 40s. And then these 30s and 40s are going to extend westward along the Canada border through northern Michigan into Minnesota, the Dakotas, and much of Montana. And ahead of that system, it is going to be quite warm. We'll have highs in the 70s, 80s, and 90s through the southern plains into the southern Great Lakes, and then continuing into the northeast. And we have additional scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms through the southeast from Louisiana to Georgia, southward to Florida. And a few of the storms could produce heavier rain, though much of the region will be dry much of the day. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. With the United States and Israel carrying out attacks on Iran targets for a 30th day, Iran appears to continue to respond by attacking U.S. allied neighbors. John Stolness has the latest from Washington.
The Kuwait Petroleum Corporation says Iran attacked an oil supertanker off the coast of Dubai on Monday, resulting in a massive explosion and potential oil leak. It comes after President Trump on Truth Social issued another threat to Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz, saying although great progress has been made in peace talks with Iran, if the strait is not immediately open for business, the U.S. will, quote, completely obliterate their electric plants, oil wells, and Karg Island. Despite claims such a move could be a war crime, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the U.S. military would operate within the confines of the law. Iran continues to contradict Trump regarding peace negotiations. Leavitt says Iranian officials are not to be taken at their word.
I think the American people are smart enough not to take the word of a terrorist regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years at their word.
But Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen on CNN says Trump's framing of the progress of the war is hypocritical.
The notion that we're near a big breakthrough is delusional. And let's remember that Donald Trump, about 3 weeks ago, said that we won the war. Those are his words. We won the war. So the question is, what are we negotiating about right now?
Leavitt also made the claim one of the reasons the Iranian leadership was attacked on the first day was due to their negotiating tactics.
They lied to the United States and they strung us along in negotiations, and that was unacceptable to the president, which is why many of the previous leaders were killed.
A parliamentary committee in Iran has approved of a plan to force ships going through the strait to pay a toll, excluding American and Israeli ships, which would be banned altogether. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, noting the strait is considered international waters, says a toll would be illegal. The president has tried to get European allies to assist in regaining control of the strait, but British Prime Minister Keir Starmer reiterated his refusal to get involved.
Because this is not our war, and we are not going to be dragged into it.
Trump also said he is considering seizing Karg Island, Iran's oil export hub, so he could, quote, take the oil in Iran. But Iran warned they are ready and waiting for any potential ground invasion by U.S. troops there. John Stolness, Washington.
The state of Washington may soon have an income tax for high earners, or maybe not. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports from Seattle, where the new millionaire's tax law faces at least 2 legal challenges.
Washington Governor Bob Ferguson championed what he called the millionaire's tax, a 9.9% tax on incomes above $1 million.
We're taking a historic step forward to rebalance an unfair system.
Ferguson proposed the bill, then demanded changes from fellow Democrats to redistribute more of the projected revenue to lower-income taxpayers.
A substantial portion of these dollars must go back in the pockets of hardworking Washingtonians.
The chief method will be to expand tax credits for low-income working families. Republicans were powerless to stop the strong Democratic majority, but they made their feelings known.
This is not a tax on millionaires. This is a tax on all of us. It's just a matter of when.
State Representative Joshua Penner during a 24-hour House debate on the bill. Fellow Republican Jim Walsh noted Washington has been the home of world-changing innovation. For now.
That by changing our traditions and changing our taxes and changing our culture, we are going to chase the next revolution away.
The millionaire's tax is not scheduled to take effect until 2028, if it survives. Opponents plan 2 almost immediate challenges. State courts have rejected previous income tax attempts based on past court rulings that have treated income as property, which the state constitution says must be taxed uniformly. And opponents also promise a quick move to put a repeal initiative on the November ballot. I'm Richard Johnson in Seattle.
Later this week, the U.S. Supreme Court is expected to take up an executive order by President Trump surrounding birthright citizenship. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
The High Court is slated to hear arguments tomorrow on the legality of President Trump's move to limit birthright citizenship by executive order.
That's a big decision coming up.
President Trump's order says that children born in the United States to parents who are in the country illegally or temporarily are not entitled to American citizenship. He told reporters this week that the idea of birthright citizenship was designed for babies of slaves after the Civil War.
That
instead of that, it's being used as a way for rich countries and thousands of people from China coming in and getting citizenship for people within their family. This is not what they meant when they did that.
The 14th Amendment guarantees citizenship to nearly all born on U.S. soil, but
if the executive order denies citizenship not just to the children of undocumented immigrants or tourists, but also to the children of people that have been legally present in the United States for years, who are applying for green cards, who maybe receive a green card the day after the child is born. Doesn't matter. Under the executive order, that child is born a non-citizen, potentially stateless, denied all the benefits and privileges of citizenship, and theoretically deportable on day one of their life.
Professor Amanda Frost addressed Congress on the potential impacts of birthright citizenship.
And then every single American family having a child will now have to prove their status before that child is considered a citizen by the U.S. government. And that doesn't matter if they go back to the Mayflower. That's what everyone will have to prove going forward.
The Supreme Court agreed to review a lower court's decision in October of last year, rejecting the president's argument. The case comes as President Trump faces criticism surrounding his immigration policies. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, bomb attack foiled and Siri gets a makeover. After these messages. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill Monday to rebrand the Palm Beach International Airport after President Trump. DeSantis signed HB 919 at the Florida State Capitol, renaming the airport closest to Mar-a-Lago as President Donald J. Trump International Airport. The Florida House voted 81-30 along party lines in support of the bill. The Florida State Senate vote was 25-11, also along party lines. The president's family business had recently filed a trademark application for the name, according to the United States Patent and Trademark Office records. The airport name change is set to take effect July 1st. Shifting gears, Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve is closely watching inflation as energy prices spike due to the war with Iran and says the likelihood of another interest rate cut anytime soon is extremely low as recession chances grow. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says the Fed's closely watching inflation as energy prices spike due to the Iran war. With gas prices inching toward $4 a gallon in the U.S., Powell says it's important to monitor inflation expectations.
You can have a series of these supply shocks, and that can lead, the public generally, businesses, price setters, households, lead them to start expecting higher inflation over time. Why wouldn't they? At the end of a certain number of years, the inflation is now just higher, and that can happen. So you monitor that very, very carefully.
But speaking at Harvard University, Powell says there's not a lot the Fed can do about it.
Energy shocks have tended to come and go pretty quickly. Monetary policy works with long and variable lags, famously. And so by the time the effects of a tightening in monetary policy take effect, the oil price shock is probably long gone, and you're weighing on the economy at a time when it's not appropriate.
Meaning by the time any monetary policy change takes effect.
Our debt is growing much faster. The federal government debt is growing substantially faster than our economy, and that ratio is going up. And, in the long run, that's kind of the definition of unsustainable.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
In France, authorities are probing a possible Iran link after a bomb attack was foiled outside a Bank of America building in Paris. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
On Saturday morning, Paris police had spotted two suspects carrying a shopping bag near a Bank of America premises in Paris. 5 suspects have now been arrested, including 2 on Monday, and the National Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor's Office has opened an investigation. Authorities are making a direct link with Iran because, says a senior official, the modus operandi is in every respect similar to actions that have been carried out in the Netherlands and in Belgium. In those cases, there were claims by a pro pro-Iranian group that linked them to the conflict in the Middle East. The group has also claimed responsibility for an attack last week in London where 4 ambulances belonging to a Jewish charity were set on fire. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Army is opening up on an investigation after the release of a video that appears to show a military Apache attack helicopter flying very low outside singer Kid Rock's Nashville home. The video was posted by Kid Rock, a longtime supporter of President Trump, who recently performed at the 2024 Republican National Convention and a Turning Point USA All-American halftime show. The Army released a statement saying they have started an administrative review of the incident and will take action if any military violations took place. Shifting gears, next up on the Apple improvement list, Siri, who's getting an AI makeover. The new old tech guy, Chuck Palm, has that story.
Bloomberg has reported that iOS 27, the next major iPhone software update, will include a full AI reboot for Siri. That means instead of just yelling at your phone, you'll have a dedicated home for the voice assistant right on your home screen. Apple users have long since felt like they're the stepchildren of the phone race when it comes to AI. But now, with a fresh new interface, cleaner, more modern, and a lot more like the chatbot experience that you get with something like ChatGPT, you'll have no more of those glowing edges that we saw on iOS 18. Probably the most exciting part that could change how you actually use it every day is a new system-wide Ask Siri button that should appear across menus in Apple built-in apps. Siri will also be available to help you write better. Highlight something on the screen, tap the Siri button, and it jumps right into the conversation with context and some good old Apple AI-powered help. Look for more to drop at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference on June 8th, and the full features should drop this fall with iOS 27, iPad 27, and macOS 27. Those of you using Siri since the beginning, you're finally getting the assistant with the brains it needs to truly be useful. Follow the new old tech guy on X at Chuck Palm.
Here's Tuesday Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball began the day on Monday with 5 undefeated teams after the first weekend. And then there were none. The Rockies battered the Blue Jays 14-5, not only Toronto's first loss of the season, but Colorado's first win, thanks to 17 hits and a 7-run sixth. The White Sox reeled in the Marlins 9-4, Chicago's first dub, Miguel Vargas with a grand slam and 6 RBI. The Rays edged the previously unbeaten Brewers 3-2. The Mariners walked it off against the Yankees last night, Cal Raleigh with an RBI single, and the Guardians ended the Dodgers' perfect start. So that makes the streak 150 years with no unbeaten teams and counting. Just one winless team left. The A's were shut out by the Braves 4-0 and fell to 0-4. The Giants and the Diamondbacks broke into the win column with victories over the Padres and Tigers, respectively. College basketball, the men's Final Four is set for this weekend in Indianapolis. Illinois versus Connecticut, then Michigan and Arizona in the semifinals on Saturday. The women's Final Four is set. All of the regional number 1 seeds are on their way to Phoenix. First time that's happened since 2018. Texas hammered Michigan in Fort Worth last night, while South Carolina sailed past TCU in Sacramento. Connecticut and UCLA advanced on Sunday, so it's the same 4 teams as last year, but with different matchups. The Huskies and the Gamecocks, last year's finalists, meet in the first semifinal on Friday, followed by the Longhorns against the Bruins. That's Tuesday Sports.
Savannah Guthrie's brother under fire. And NASA aims for the moon. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. As the search for Nancy Guthrie goes on, some people are not happy with a comment made by NBC host Savannah Guthrie's brother. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
The disappearance of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, has captivated the public for almost 2 months. Last week, NBC aired the first interview with Guthrie about her mother's disappearance with Hoda Kotb, who has been filling in for Guthrie in her absence. Guthrie opened up about many things, but one of the comments she relayed from her brother Cameron caused a stir on social media. In the interview, Hoda asked Guthrie about first realizing what happened.
He said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me? And he said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe.
When Variety shared that clip Thursday on X, it went viral with a wave of criticisms calling Guthrie's brother, quote, sick, and saying his comment was, quote, an awful thing to say. Guthrie did acknowledge the possibility that her work as a high-profile member of the media made her mother a target.
And somebody thought, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her, that it's because of me.
Nancy Guthrie was last seen on the evening of January 31st in Tucson, Arizona. While there have been thousands of tips to the authorities, no arrests have been made. I'm Kevin Carr.
The countdown for NASA's Artemis II test flight is underway at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. That countdown began yesterday afternoon, now ticking down with a scheduled launch time of 6:24 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on what will be a first in a long-time planned return to the moon.
NASA is about to make another moonshot with Artemis II, something that can't come soon enough for those still around from the original Apollo missions in the 1960s, like John Tribe, a propulsion engineer.
It's spectacular. Yes, the next phase. We should have done Artemis 50 years ago.
Apollo 16 astronaut Charlie Duke says this moonshot is a great boost for NASA.
I find a lot of interest looking back 50 years ago to Apollo. And so I try to get people motivated with Artemis.
In 1962, President Kennedy capturing the world's fascination with space travel.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
NASA targeting a window starting April 1st for the Artemis II flight around the moon with 4 astronauts. I'm Julie Walker.
That's our show for today, Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.